There's a lot riding on the success of Wonder Woman 2017. And not just because it's the first modern female-led superhero movie. Wow, you know, the first modern female-led superhero movie that has a chance of not being a flaming pile of toxic garbage. Presumably, look, I haven't seen Catwoman other than this amazing sequence. But I'm talking in terms of bolstering the future of the DC movie universe. Say what you will about Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad, love or hate them, they had a very mixed response, both critically and with general audiences. So after we break down all the Easter eggs and whatnot from this Wonder Woman trailer, I want to delve a little bit into the future of the DC extended universe. And of course, you are welcome to stick around for that. But also, you know what? You can not, that's fine. I mean, you can do whatever you want. You're your own person. Good on ya. Bloody keep at it. I'm proud of ya. Alright, so early on in the trailer, we get Steve Trevor crash landing near Themyscira, which is the home of the Amazonians, located somewhere in the Mediterranean. As mentioned in the last trailer breakdown, it looks like he stole that biplane and was using it to escape, but now we get the added information of him destroying what looks like a chemical weapons manufacturing facility. World War I saw the use of a number of poisonous gases to press the advantage of trench warfare, with soldiers preferring to risk running out into the open than enduring something like mustard gas, which is heavy enough that it would pool in the lower areas of a battlefield. The results of these weapons were devastating. We're talking lungs completely destroyed, severe burns, and even if you survived, there was a really good chance that you developed cancer later on in life. In fact, protocols were put in place in 1925 that mandated that chemical weapons were not to be used in warfare. This was generally adhered to in World War II by all sides, including the Germans, well, on the battlefield at least, and it's been speculated this could maybe be due to Hitler being temporarily blinded in 1918 by a gas shell. The point is though, we're seeing a big emphasis on chemical warfare here because this character is most likely Dr. Poison. Her original origin is set in World War II, but like a lot of these characters, including Steve Trevor and Etta Candy, it's been shifted back a couple of decades to World War I, perhaps to avoid the Captain America comparison. Dr. Poison, the first incarnation being Princess Maru, is a classic Wonder Woman villain who has an affinity for poisons and toxins and plagues, and gas masks were commonly employed as a countermeasure, but here it looks like she's developed something powerful to render them inert. On Themyscira, it looks like the Germans followed Steve Trevor. Themyscira isn't generally the place that you can just stumble across. We know these are German soldiers, as the naval uniforms match up. Obviously, the Amazonians have zero knowledge of the outside world. They have no idea this huge, all-encompassing battle is taking place, and clearly they've never seen guns before. This trailer also gives us a better understanding of Diana Prince's power set. This version is clearly not bulletproof, as she's in this seemingly constant and furious state of bullet deflection. She's able to do this as it's apparent her reactions are fast enough that she can see them moving as if they're in slow motion, which means, you know, she's fast. I wouldn't say that she's Flash fast or even Superman fast, but she's certainly faster than, I don't know, Batman. He's not really that fast, probably from all the smoking. I'm very interested though as to what distinguishes this version of Wonder Woman from the other Amazonians. Is she stronger? Is she faster? Is she more skilled? Is it just the weapons? Is it her general compassion? What is it? There's also a sequence where we see her grab her sword and her shield, and then the Wonder Woman armor, which makes me wonder, is this what an ambassador to man's world wears? Or is it a family thing? Or is it not going to be explained? There's also this scene where she saves Steve Trevor in an alley that's very reminiscent of Clark Kent catching a bullet in Superman the movie from 1978. It's unlikely that this parallel is, you know, some kind of coincidence. Seems very deliberate. It also looks like this version of Wonder Woman is capable of flight? Maybe? Unless everything is floating here due to some kind of unseen threat or power source. Whether she can fly or not is something that hasn't been made clear in the previous trailer, or even Batman v Superman, where she just did a lot of leaping about. This sequence does hint at a greater supernatural villain. It's been speculated that it's Ares, the god of war, escalating the events of World War I in order to grow in power. I still think there's a good chance that Danny Houston's German officer is Ares, and it looks like Wonder Woman may be slamming him down here from the neck with her lasso of truth, but it's kind of unclear, you know, who this is. This movie though, it's unlikely that it'll have a happy ending, considering Diana Prince goes into exile for a century right before deciding to return, just in time to watch Superman get himself murdered. This indicates that she's probably experienced some kind of personal tragedy, potentially the loss of Steve Trevor. I mean, he'd be dead by now anyway, unless he's what, 130 something years old? But maybe they could give Chris Pine the Guy Pearce Prometheus old man makeup. Does anyone else hate looking at this? I know I do. Why not just cast an actual old man? Right, let's get into movies beyond Wonder Woman. Looking into the far future. The far future of 5 months after that movie when Justice League arrives. What I'm hoping for out of this film is an evolution of a couple of characters in particular. Now, I'm fine with Flash and Aquaman and Cyborg and Wonder Woman. We haven't seen much of them at this point. But from the limited material we have, either great or I'll reserve judgment. On the other hand, as much as I like Ben Affleck's portrayal as Batman, less murdering, yeah, that would be fantastic. I know that's something DC are apparently leaning into, but all I'm saying is if they don't do that, a whole lot of questions arise about this universe. Namely, why doesn't he just kill his entire rogues gallery? He wouldn't put up with any of this riddle me this bullshit. As for Superman, again, I don't have a problem with Cavill's performance. It's the characterization that lets it all down. I mean, just look at the Supergirl TV series. What they've done with their incarnation of Superman is great. He's hopeful, happy to help, polite, and he's always got a smile and a wink and a nod for everyone. But there's also a strength to him. This Superman, I'm still not entirely sure what he stands for. Though to be fair, the extended cut of BVS did flesh out the character more. A bit. I mean, he still shouldn't have fallen for that second gas grenade. What were you thinking? Next up is The Flash, which is turning out to be a bit of a train wreck, but with time to rectify. So the story's been penned by Phil Lord and Chris Miller, directors of the Jump Street films, the Lego Movie, and the upcoming Han Solo film. They were in talks to helm the project, however that all fell through, apparently due to their busy schedule. Now I can buy that, they do have a lot going on, and I can understand their thinking that a Star Wars film might take priority. Then Seth Grahame-Smith stepped in. Now he's known as more of a writer, but still a great get, I felt. Then in April, he drops out due to creative differences. And I think, okay, I guess that's fine. So dope director Rick Famuyiwa, definitely not pronounced like that, is hired, and he's a great choice. Things are looking good again. However, he also leaves citing creative differences. And this is the point where you have to ask, what the hell is going on? Now, this could be nothing. Like I said, directors leave all the time. Josh Trank left Star Wars. He definitely wasn't booted, and it was totally amicable. Tim Miller recently departed Deadpool 2, and Edgar Wright bailed on Ant-Man way late in the game. But the difference here, I feel, and this is pure speculation, is that the mixed response to the last two films have left Warner Brothers in uncertain territory. They trusted the beginnings of this universe almost entirely to Zack Snyder, and he was given free rein to set up the world as he saw fit. And as a result of BVS underperforming, we got a massive amount of meddling in Suicide Squad to ensure it was a hit, which of course just led to a disjointed final product. I actually thought it was okay, but whatever, my opinion's irrelevant because a lot of people hate it and they tell me so all the time. And that's fine, man. Like whatever you like. Now, I think there's this mad rush to establish a cohesive film universe with an almost singular vision, like what Marvel have done under the guidance of Kevin Feige. Hence DC's appointment of Jeff Johns in the, for lack of a better word, Kevin Feige role. But I'm just not sure that everyone is on the same page. Otherwise, this kind of stuff, it wouldn't be happening. And yes, like I said, this did happen with Edgar Wright and Ant-Man, but the version he wanted to make was established way before the MCU, and a consensus couldn't be reached after 10 or so films altered the entire narrative years later. Now, I'd imagine also there's pressure to make this version, at the very least, as successful and beloved as the Flash TV series. And that's a difficult thing to do without making it so different that the audience leaves saying, yeah, you know, I like the other Barry Allen better. He just seems like a nice boy. And you know what? He does. He does seem like a nice boy. That being said, Aquaman looks great. Dare I say it? Things are moving along swimmingly. Fantastic joke. And this movie from director James Wan is apparently going to be this adventure on the high seas in the vein of Raiders of the Lost Ark or Romancing the Stone. Now, capturing that kind of magic, that's a hard thing to replicate. That being said, I feel like Wan is quite diverse in his filmmaking and has proven very adaptable. He went from horror to action without even batting an eye. His Fast and Furious movie worked so well as a sequel to the franchise. A franchise that by all logic should have died Tokyo drifting, and he even managed to pull a really entertaining film together after the loss of Paul Walker. Hence, Aquaman is the DC film I am least worried about. Now, very quickly, I'm just going to burn through the rest, simply because there's just not enough bloody time, mate. There's not enough time in the day. And you know, for a lot of these, there isn't that much information. Okay, Shazam. Great. It's got The Rock, but not much else is known, and at this point, it doesn't even have a confirmed director. Justice League 2. Now, if I'm honest, I'd like to see somebody else take on directing duties, even if the first one turns out great. Maybe just to mix it up. Cyborg. Again, don't really know anything about it, but I do like Ray Fisher. And you know what? all of these films are cast really, really well, with only a few minor missteps. Now, I don't want to point any fingers, but if I was to, it'd be right at this mop wearing a sweater. Then, of course, we have the Green Lantern movie, probably placed last in 2020 to distance itself from the previous one. Plus, we've got the untitled Superman and Batman solo films that will be thrown in at some point. I did a video on the Batman one. I'll link it below if you want to check it out. Alright, that's it. I'm done. But I'd love to know if you have any thoughts on the Wonder Woman trailer. And if you do, please feel free to leave them below. Also, I'm curious on what is something that excites you about the DC extended universe, and also maybe something that concerns you. That's of course if you have an answer for either. Alright, so linked below is my podcast, The Weekly Planet, where every Monday we talk about the latest in movies and comics and TV shows. Check that out if you want something that you can just kind of put on in the background and then just tune out and go on with something else like, washing dishes or whatever. But regardless, thanks for watching this. I appreciate it. Take care.